talking Memphis wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.
We are off and running with the June 20th edition of Talking Memphis Wrestling, and this is the most loaded show we've ever done, and we'll get right to it. I want to show you a little bit more about this later. I want to show you my shirt, as you can tell, the great shirt when I was a manager of Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill. I'm starting big. I want to say hello to Greg Wayne of Wayne World, Randy West of Rendell West Productions, and also Jeff Frog Wheeler, loaded and ready to go. First take, and welcome to the show, my buddy Pat Trammell. What do you have on your mind, Pat? And hello.
Hello. It's an exciting day in the Trammell household. It was an exciting day yesterday on Saturday. After 4.5 months, my beloved Waffle House has been rehabbed and is reopened. And I had
Yay!
two, not one, but two grilled chicken, hash browns scattered and diced crispy, and 2 eggs over medium well.
That is great. PJ says hi to everyone. Also says hello to you specifically.
Well, hello to PJ and Randy and Frog and Wayne and Al and all our pals.
Very good. What's your first take, or have you already done it?
I think that's first take enough. I will say this: I'm here alone with the dogs. Here's Princess come to say hello. I have Suzanne is in Alaska, Wyatt is in Ireland, Meg is in the Bahamas. So I'm holding down the fort in Birmingham.
All right. Very, very good. Great to have you with us. And we are ready to bring in the star of this stinking show, this wonderful show, as we have a lot of people watching, including Randy and everybody else. Andrew Calvin Jr. is in the house. Again, Greg Wayne is in the house. Everybody's in the house as we bring on the show for his first take, and his first hellos is my friend and Pat's friends and Adam's friend who is producing this show, Michael St. John.
And there, hello there, Randy Hales. Of course, I'm not the star of this show. Randy Hales is the star of this show. Pat and I are just rolling for the ride. And good seeing you, Randy. I know it's been a busy week for you. Congratulations on all your wonderful accomplishments. And boy, I'll tell you, it's a busy time, Pat. It really is a busy time. And boy, oh boy, you got good news yesterday. I got good news last night.
What was your news, Michael?
The Cincinnati Reds are in first place in the National League Central.
How about that?
People that follow me on Twitter, it was announced as soon as it happened by my grandson Joshua, who was cheering the game on. He's all excited. We're going to be up in Cincinnati on Friday to see a game between the Braves and the Reds, and he can't wait. And anyway, it's just fun. It's a fun time of the year, and I'll tell you, it's just God is good, and He's been good to all of us, and we're thankful for it. So my first take tonight is thanks to everyone, thanks to God. Thanks to you folks.
Very good. Great first take. And now, as we say hello to Al Tuttle in the house and everybody on here, Michael and Al saying hello to Pat and to Michael St. John. And now it's time for Randy Hales' first take. Mine's usually the shortest of the three of us. Today, it will be the longest of the three of us because I'll go through this quick, man. What a fantastic weekend. Michael alluded to it. It started with a family wedding. My great nephew, Corbin, and his bride, Ryan, got married, and they got married, and Adam has some back me ups for that. I went to get my niece, Tracy, Thursday evening at 9 o'clock, and brought her in. She came in from Cape Cod. The wedding was great. There I am. Man, do you think I underdressed a little bit? Just a little bit, but they told me to. But he in a tux. She looks beautiful. That was great. That was just fantastic. And, you know, we did have a wedding crasher. There wasn't one, which was just one, there was two. Of course, I was one of the Power Pro guys, one of the USWA guys, and it was an absolute thrill. And if you see, for the first time since 1995, you see my drink and you see my buddy's drink. You see, we were both partaking of a little adult beverages. I know that will shock you. It was so nice. Brandon Baxter always there for any event, whether it's sad or happy in my family. Love him to death. And he came with a beautiful date. His wife, Leslie, and they were a stunning, stunning couple. And we had a great, great time. And of course, they had to have their picture taken as well with the bride and groom. And we will show that as well real quick. That's Brandon and Ryan and Corbin and the lovely Leslie. Both of those young ladies as beautiful as they can be. Shout out to listener and viewer Rod W. Robinson. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Rod freaking Robinson. Happy 55th to you. So it was great to see Brandon and Ryan and Leslie and Corbin and everybody else in the house, all the crew. It was a great weekend. So then I took back to the Memphis airport. My niece got up at 3:15 in the morning, Monday morning, and I made some arrangements for later in the day. And I'll tell you that in a minute. But as I was on the way at around 10:30, I took a nap in the Memphis International Airport cell phone lot. Took a nap there, got up, messed around, blew 5 or 6 hours, got up, and then one of the most disturbing things, and I've done it before, I've done it a million times, but probably maybe a couple of times in the last 10 years or so, and we will show the pictures. It actually, Pat and Adam and Michael, made me cry. One of the most iconic buildings. Now, the best thing of that picture, the most good looking thing of that picture is my car. It looks fine, but the boarded up front of the Mid-South Coliseum where the bulk of the people, there's other options, but the people come in that door. Then there's a smaller ticket office to the left, and that's where Jerry Lawler's mother, Hazel Lawler, sold tickets. That's the main entrance to the Mid-South Coliseum. Then the wrestling area, Michael, where we all a million different times came in that back gate. There's thinking trees in the middle of the daggum parking lot, and there's equipment and all that sort of thing. It's absolutely heartbreaking, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. Now, the final thing that I want to say, then we'll get reaction from both Michael and Pat from the first take of Randy Hills today. And we have a wonderful show as we remember the fabulous Jackie Fargo. We go and show back from 1996 a video clip of me, the greatest interview I've ever done in my life that didn't lead to anything. So after I left the Mid-South Coliseum, I got on early Maxwell Road. I headed down the road between the Liberty Boat Stadium, headed to Hollywood, took a left on Hollywood, right on Central. I went to Poplar. I pulled up at the home on the off street of Jerry the King Lawler. First time in probably 2 years I've seen the King. And the first thing I said as he opened the door, I said, "Good God Almighty, it's good to see the King." I was thrilled to death. A big handshake, a big hug. A reunion was held. It was absolutely fantastic. Now, there's been a lot of people, and none of it bad attention. And I'm been and worried and was worried in February and cried like a baby as much as anybody. But let me tell you, I was absolutely thrilled out of my mind, thrilled out of my mind. And this is not hearsay and a report from anybody else. This is me directly going into Jerry Lawler's house, and it's been a few years. So he took me throughout the house, and he took me in the room that his award, the Distinguished Citizen Award that St. Jude gave me. He was showing me that, and he's thrilled to death with that. He showed me a whole bunch of stuff. He showed me his garage that he's turned into the King's room, that with all his robes and his Batmobile and his Batmobile motorcycle and all the stuff. And then we go, I'm going to take him to eat, was the plan. So we go outside the house, and, you know, up to then, I did not know at all. I'm just assuming I'm driving because I did not know that. And as of last week, I knew for his rehab, he was being driven to the rehab. So I didn't know he was driving. But as we walked out the car, I had the key in my hand, just assuming. He said, my car's first, get in here. And so he got in the driver's side, and I walked around, and brother, he drove like he always did, except maybe not quite as fast because we weren't on the interstate, but safe and great, and his personality and all that, man, it was just great. Michael St. John, your name got mentioned because by me, because when Lawler, we just went like 3 blocks down from his house, and believe it or not, you'll be jealous as hell. You probably did this in Alabama Monday. We went to a meat and 3. We had
That's my man.
We had pot roast. We had mashed potatoes. We had green beans. Just a great thing. And I can tell you, you know, if I had something bad if there was something bad in my heart to say, I wouldn't say it. I'll be honest with you. Medical issues, and so even if I had personal knowledge, it was a bad situation. I might have told my inner circle, like Pat and Chris and Michael and Adam and all that, but certainly I was thrilled to death. My heart is good. So my first take, before we get into the man that's often imitated, never duplicated, the fabulous Jackie Fargo, so much to happen on this show today. But Michael St. John response to my first take, and we'll let Pat, I guess I'll let Pat, because I can tell he's setting up close to the camera, so he wants to talk too. So Michael, respond to what the BS I just said for the last 7 minutes.
Well, when you mentioned my name to the king, did he cuss?
No.
I love Jerry. Hey, listen, that's great news. It's great news. And the meet and 3. Hey, Pat, let's see. You and I have done Ted's. We've done Nikki's West. We got a couple of more to hit in the Magic City next time we're down there.
Absolutely. It's hard to beat Nikki's West for sure. And Randy, that is great news on the King, and I know he's been in a lot of people's prayers and everybody's prayers on him. And that's thank you for the update.
Absolutely, great news.
You know one thing, Michael and Adam, I want you to switch to the Power Pro. I wasn't planning to do this, but this is what I like about live television. Expect the unexpected. I showed you the picture, certainly, of Brandon Baxter and I together and all that. One of the most unique things, and I showed it last night, the video Adam put up there. It's a short little clip, but it just, I think, a good little thing. And Brandon's a heel here. I'm a heel here. It involves Lawler and Stacy and Billy Travis. And this is a little highlight piece that I stole from Brandon in the Morning's little deal. And so I want you to see that video right now. It's short.
Is that Randy's mother, you think? Or his grandmother? Who in the world is that? Oh, my goodness. Oh, don't tell me, fans. Yeah, it is. Brandon Baxter. And now Randy Hale. Randy rolls up Stacy. Has Stacy roll up into cover 1, 2. But Lawler breaks it up at the last moment. And then to get him back in here in the sight. He nails goes Travis to cover. 1, 2. Randy's up. Now, Randy. We don't think it's funny. We think it's sad that it's come to this.
All right. What did you think about that little piece of business, Michael St. John?
I've never seen that before. That's one of the rare pieces of footage. I haven't seen that before. Give me some background on it. I mean, that was fun. Now, the best part of that, I bet the most fun you had was when you rolled up Stacy and Ben.
Oh, yeah. That was fun. And you should have seen the thing we did at the 4th and the forest. And I can't describe it because it was her sitting on top of me in a certain way. I mean, it was a classic thing. We have a huge, hey, John McCall, hello, Ricky Kennedy, hello, everybody. I'm missing a lot of people. We have a loaded show today, but I'll give you the setup. We were doing a program with Lawler and me, involved Stacy, involved just a great personal issue thing. Billy Travis was a part of my group. I was the lead guy. Brandon was kind of my second in command. So I did a thing earlier in the show where I set up that hair match. I also did a thing earlier in the show where I acted mad at Brandon and fired him and kicked him out of the studio, and he cried. It was all a swerve, a smize. He walked out crying, boom. And then I made the stipulation of the match, Lawler and Stacy versus me and Billy Travis, with Stacy's hair at stake against my hair at stake. And then as we did that run in, that's the only situation. You know how Lawler is. He always takes care of his own finishes. Maybe with me booking always, he said, what do you want? And then I'll say, well, you over, or I need a screw or whatever, but you figure it out. So he said, what do you want? I said, you figure it out. He said, no, you're the one dropping your hair. You figure it out. So that was my finish. That's the only time ever I've given Jerry Lawler a specific finish. And I knew Lawler. So I knew it wasn't like he said, put it back on me and I didn't have a finish. I knew how that would go. But I thought it was exciting and it was great. And it was the highest rated Power Pro show ever in the 154 weeks for sure. So very interesting thing. And it's something I'm proud of. Brandon and I go way back because I first hired him in 1995 for the USWA. As I said, obviously, I showed the picture. We were together. And I don't know if you have time because you're a busy man running your empire of radio station, but I sent you a little video today from Brandon's podcast that he does, which is pretty much a highlight. Did you, I believe I told you where it was, the 37-minute mark.
Unfortunately, I didn't get that far. I got interrupted, but I was listening to it. I'm very excited about Brandon as a morning show guy. Did he have that radio background, or did he have that urge to get, or is the girl that's on with him sort of prompt him into it? They're pretty good as morning shows go.
Yeah, it's the top morning show in the market, and they're syndicated with the same radio group. They're on like 70 stations. But here's the deal. Wow. With Power Pro Wrestling, I had Brandon as the babyface. I had a working relationship with East Arkansas Broadcasting and K-Fine, and they want to do a wrestling deal, co-promotion thing. I'm the heel, so I can't go. Brandon lived in Jonesboro as my right-hand man. So Brandon went, and the general manager at the time, Gary Harpo, which is now a big shot business developer, real estate developer, all that. He was a GM, and he told Brandon, and I 100%, Brandon does too, give Gary credit. And he's like, you, Michael. He just knew radio and knew talent. And he said, Brandon, if something ever happens where wrestling went away, so we have a job for you. I said, you're a natural for radio. Absolutely. And you can be the biggest star in the history of Jonesboro radio. And Brandon thought, just like I thought, wrestling we'd die in the wrestling business, right?
Sure.
When it went away, Gary was no longer the GM. So Brandon went to a rival radio station just as an intern, and they did voice tracking and different things. Then he was hired on the top 40 station, Kiss FM, for that, and he spent 10 years there. Then the legacy station of the market, K-Fine, that he's on now, had over the years, they made bad decisions on who hosted the show. And you know, in your job, that can go south quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So went from number one to the very bottom of the station list. So he was already the operation manager, the PD of KISS, just different things. And so they needed to save that station. They were worried it was coming to the end. So he pitched that, and he knew his partner, Kelly. She's just a beautiful lady and a nice lady with a good personality. And you got to listen to that thing where he starts knocking me, saying I'm an idiot.
I'll go back to it.
Oh, you got to. That's what I wanted you to watch, that I'm an idiot and all that kind of stuff. But it evolved. And he will get mad at me if I tell you this. He's had opportunities in St. Louis as a PD. He's had opportunities in Memphis and Little Rock, in Dallas, and in Nashville.
Wow. So he wants to stay home.
First of all, two reasons. First of all, he says in big markets like that, where do you have 20-year careers anymore in these days and times? Where do you have 20-year careers for sure? And that's true. But the main thing is like this. This was several years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. He had the offer in St. Louis as a PD. That money was less than what he's getting in Jonesboro.
Wow.
Now he does several different duties to do it. You know, he's operation manager, the PD of K-Fine and KISS, but it's at the same time just a great career. So I thought, man, because he's like me, sensitive to criticism, but I would like you to kind of voice check it and give your honest opinion and send me a note back, and then I'll clean it up because I know him personally. If anything I think that you said that would hurt his feelings, we don't want that. I'll clean it up. But
no, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with the content. I was very impressed with the delivery. One of the things and I'm a critical person, and I'm going to jump in and criticize them. There was a little bit of clichéness in the show, and that's one thing that is a no-no. That broadcasters, longtime broadcasters, tweak their shows and not be as a cliche. I felt like he sometimes got into DJ mode instead of just talking to the microphone as if it's the person next door to you, or just like I'm talking to you right now. And I think that comes with the polish. And, there's morning shows that were, 15 years in the making before they got to that point. So I think he's a very good talent. And I think he'll, he could go places if he wanted to, but I admire him. Because I was taught a long time ago by a man that Randy Hales, and that is the great and wonderful Johnny Randolph, who took me under his wing when I was a 18-year-old snot-nosed kid from Vanderbilt University as a freshman, and trained me on the intricacies of how to be a program director and how to manage people. And between him and Scott Shannon, they're the ones that molded my career. And the one thing that Johnny always said to me, and it remains steadfast to me today, you can be a big fish in a small pond, or you can be a little bitty fish in a big pond. And trust me, I've been both. And I'd rather be that big fish in a small pond. So I really admire what he does.
And I told you when he took it over at Cape Fine, the last radio station in the market, it's back to number one. I disagree with what Joshua was saying, and certainly has the option and the opinion to say anything he wants to say. But he says Andy Kaufman made Memphis wrestling, and I do not agree with that in any way at all. Your thoughts on that, Pat?
Well, it was a nice little commercial of Memphis wrestling, but Josh, I want you to get on YouTube and watch Lawler Dundee and Lawler Mantell, and just pick them all.
Comment to that,
okay.
Michael.
Everybody's got their opinions.
Comment to that, Michael.
I think what he's probably alluding to is I think that the Andy Kaufman Jerry Lawler feud made Memphis a national name. It gave it that national presence, because I think a lot of people around our area, of course, knew about the wrestling in Memphis and knew how good it was. And we were all raised on it, born with it, love it to this day. But I think that the exposure of Memphis as a product was aided by the Andy Kaufman incidents with Jerry Lawler. So I would agree with that part, that it made it a national brand, so to speak. But I don't agree with Andy Kaufman being Memphis wrestling. If anything, he was a shooting star within a large cosmos of the Memphis wrestling universe.
Absolutely, for sure. We will start our subject of the day. And Adam, I want you to certainly pick up a picture, because I'm going to read a bio here. And I said it before. I said it earlier in the show. He's often imitated. He's never duplicated. He's the fabulous one himself, Jackie Fargo. I've said the story before, said the story again. We'll see a picture later in the show as we go through these pictures. I wanted this picture up as I do a background information on Jackie Fargo. But in 1972, the thing that hooked me on wrestling was the setup to the first sellout of the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum in July or August of 72, Big Al Green and the fabulous Jackie Fargo. That hooked me on Jerry Jarrett's booking, hooked me on Jackie Fargo, hooked me. People from all over, little young Michael St. John, little young Randy West, a lot of little young people like Pat Trammell, so many of us. The first hero in wrestling, one of the first heroes in wrestling we saw was the fabulous one himself, Jackie Fargo. Jackie Fargo was born, and it's why I wanted to do this show in the month of June. He was born on June the 26th, 1930. He was born in Concord, North Carolina, and he passed away at age 82 on June the 24th, 2013, and in China Grove, North Carolina, of heart failure. He left 3 children. His professional wrestling debut was in 1950. In March of 1957, Jackie Fargo, along with his wrestling brother Don Fargo, sold out 20,122 seats at the Madison Square Garden there in New York City against Rocca and Perez, led to a riot, led to the Fargos being banned for life from New York. One of the craziest matches ever, and that was a lifetime ban. He made his debut for Nick Gulas and Roy Welch on July the 4th, 1957 at the Hippodrome in Nashville, Tennessee, and the match that they main evented was Jackie Fargo and Don Fargo against Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, and Tex Riley. Everybody knows of Roughhouse Fargo. Roughhouse Fargo was Jackie Fargo's blood brother. And we have a lot of pictures and a lot of stuff going on as we remember the fabulous winning self, Jackie Fargo. And to start this segment up from a panel perspective is Pat Trammell. Pat, what do you think about the fabulous one, Jackie Fargo?
Well, I think I told you, you and I were talking the other day, and as you know, originally the Degoulas Welch territory included Nashville, Memphis, and Birmingham. And Birmingham is where I did all my watching. And as you pointed out, Monday nights were at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis and in the Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham. And so on the Birmingham end, we didn't get a lot of Jackie Fargo. We had Tojo, we had Lynn Rossi, we had Bearcat Brown, we had the Greens a good bit, we had Ken Ramey and the Interns, we had a lot of great wrestling. But Jackie Fargo was that guy, and the way I described it to you is, when you're little and one kid's bullying another, the kid that's getting bullied will go get his dad. And when a heel took advantage of a babyface in Birmingham and maybe double teamed them or something like that, they brought in Jackie Fargo to straighten things out. So it was like calling your daddy in Birmingham. And I've seen that in other territories where there would be a babyface that had been wronged and they would bring in Andre the Giant. Well, in Birmingham, if you needed an enforcer, you went and got Jackie Fargo. And if it was really bad, really, really bad, you got Jackie and Roughhouse.
Right. It's classic, and you're exactly right. Great comments. Joshua, I will not correct you, but I will explain the situation. Joshua, let's put him up there. Correct me if I'm wrong. But did Jeff Jarrett steal Jackie Fargo's strut? And I wouldn't use the word steal, and I will tell you, any babyface ever came through Memphis that were over they borrowed the strut. And that includes Jerry Lawler. That includes Bill Dundee. That includes the fabulous ones. All those people that I mentioned, and obviously Fargo gave blessing for everybody, and he gave the blessing for the fabulous ones when they created the fabulous ones gimmick. Then later on Jeff, they were calling him the fabulous ones, Jeff Jarrett for a while, and the same amount of thing. Ric Flair certainly used the strut. A lot of people, but it's called the Fargo's spot, Fargo thing. And, borrowed is just a much better word. SK Lee, stand by, as we'll deal with question number one in a minute. But do you agree how I just explained that about the struts, Pat?
I did, and it's interesting. I went to see the movie Memphis Heat at the Malco in Memphis, and I was sitting there waiting on it to come through, and this lady who was in her, I say in her 60s like that was old. I'm 60 now, but she came in with the Fargo strut, so it's it's not trademarked, but boy, everybody in Memphis knows what it is. Now, I think Fargo himself got it from Buddy Rogers. I don't know that to be a fact, but anyway.
And I've heard that too. Adam, I want you to search for any generic picture, whether it's a Talking Memphis. I don't care. Some generic. We'll do the Q&A thing right now. We'll go with that. And we'll split it up through the show. We have 3 questions, folks. I know you have the opportunity to write comments here, and I try to get to the questions. Also, you can go to my Facebook Messenger and do on that. You can do that, or you can email me at randybittenhales@youtube.com for sure. SK Lee sent in a question, and he sent in 3. We'll split that up. Number 1, has there ever been any suggestions given to Lance or Dave to get in the ring for a tag team match with Lawler like the WWF did with Hogan and Mean Gene? Perhaps one night we could have gotten something like Lawler and Lance against Hart and Cornette, or Hart and Kaufman. But that suggestion was that suggestion turned down by them? It would have drawn money. And as far as I know, first of all, I know Dave Brown would never agree to something like that. All you could get Lance to do was one time he refereed. So that is my opinion. Certainly it's a fact. It never happened. It's my opinion. It was never asked. So before we get back to the Fargo talk, answering SK Lee's question, we got 2 more coming in throughout the show. Michael, I want you to respond. Do you agree with my answer about? Let me ask you: if I would have come to you back in '89 and say, "Hey, Michael, how about me and you against Cornette and Brandon?" Would you have said yes or no?
No.
Okay. I'd pay to see it.
Yeah, I bet you would. My wife would too. Yeah, and I know where Dave Brown's coming to, because it is important when you're the weatherman or the news anchor or even the sports director. The sports director has a little play, but to preserve the integrity of the job you do. And no way is Dave Brown going to come close to that. Dave will take it about as far as being the wrestling announcer, and that's about it. Nick Goulas had a rule, and he really admonished. In fact, the guy almost got fired over the fact that I was doing an interview with him in the ring on a Wednesday night, and the guy took his finger and poked me in the chest, like, would you, that kind of thing. Nick went ballistic. He said, "You don't touch an announcer. You don't breathe on the announcer. He is there for a reason. He does your job. You do your job, and the 2 don't meet." And, I saw Gordon Soley one time get knocked down, and, Gordon had a bad leg. Gordon had a prosthesis on one of his legs. And I saw him get knocked down on Atlanta TV. And I did a show with Ole Anderson in Chattanooga, an independent show many years ago. And I asked him about that. And Ole said that was totally by accident. And he said the guy that did it, and I want to say it was either Luger or a Magnum TA, or one of the big guys.
It was Magnificent Morocco.
Was that who it is that bumped him?
Yes, I think so.
And Ole said that the guy got ripped. I mean, Ole tore him a new one, and it never happened again. So, when I see announcers get involved, Jim Ross got involved in an angle or a couple of angles in the NWA, or in the, I think,
WWF.
In the WWF. I think you lose your credibility. I think you lose your integrity. And I don't, would it have drawn money? It would have been an attraction that people would have come to see as a sideshow attraction. But as a long-term or something that was going to draw you money week after week, day after day, no. I do remember Lance Russell one time. He stood outside the ring, was a special referee, and he had a whistle. Remember that, Randy?
Yeah, he did a couple of referee things, including referee the Mongolian Stomper Jerry Lawler match in 1975.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different. And again, I think the integrity of the announcer, I think, goes above and beyond. And sometimes we sort of lose that. By the way, while we're talking announcers, I'm going to make this statement right now. I did watch the AEW show on Saturday night, and I am so happy that Kevin Kelly is their announcer. He is head and shoulders above anything else they've got. And that's no slap at Jim Ross, who, by the way, fell and had a terrible black eye, and it hurt his eye socket. And of course, I've never been a fan of Tony Schiavone's play-by-play. I think it's very, very fake, very put on. And who knows what's under that mask guy? They just need to let him go collect garbage or whatever he could actually do good at. But I thought bringing Kevin Kelly back to that ringside, that made that show. It really did. And that was it was a pretty good wrestling show as well.
Hey, real quick, and I want to get your comments to start off with on Fargo before we get to the pictures. But let me say about Kevin Kelly, he's a very good announcer. He was great in Ring of Honor. He was great in New Japan, still great in New Japan. Of anybody I've ever dealt with, I think he might be in the top 5 of my least favorite people. I hate that son of a bitch. Hate him with a passion. He's a no good freaking prick. Hate him.
I don't know the background on him. All I see is that I've never met him. I just see him on the screen, and I'll take your word for it. I mean, I know you a heck of a lot better than I ever will know him, but for his work,
he does great.
I thought he was good.
Best announcer in wrestling right now, currently, without a doubt.
I would agree with that.
Company, without a doubt. You had to go away. You disappeared. Pat disappeared. You disappeared. The only person that hadn't disappeared on this show, and I guess since it's my show, I don't need to disappear. But anyway, we were talking about Jackie Fargo. We have a bunch of pictures we need to go really through, and we got all kinds of stuff to do today, folks. But opening remarks, brief as much as you can do it. Oh, the fabulous Jackie Fargo. First impressions the first time you saw him.
For me, he's a hero. I mean, he's one of those guys that I hold way above. To me, he and Muhammad Ali are way above anybody else in the, in the whole stratosphere. You can't. He was one of a kind. I mean, he blazed so many trails. And he became such a legend. And I don't like to use that word a lot, but with Fargo, that's the word to use. He was a legend, both living and since his passing. I can't believe he's been gone 10 years. And I will tell you, and I've got a picture somewhere, and I meant to look it up, and I ran out of time. But I'll never forget the first time Randy West was there. And the first time I got to interview Jackie Fargo at the Fairgrounds Arena in Nashville, in the new building. Was the first time I ever met him. And I met him in the locker room, and my hands were clammy, and I was, I was among, I'd never dreamed that I would ever be having the opportunity to even talk to Jackie Fargo, much less be on a wrestling program with him. And he's one of the kindest, most sincere individuals I've ever known, but his knowledge of this business, he could have written the encyclopedia backward and forward. So many things, so many that even you see today in the ring came right out of Fargoisms and right out of Jackie's book of how to do it. And, we talked about, you mentioned him selling out Madison Square Garden in New York with Don Fargo. When Vince McMahon Sr. lost Jackie, there was a void. And you know what tag team took up that void, Randy?
What was that?
You sent me a video of them. In fact, it was on Vice TV last week, and you sent me the video.
Dr. Jerry Graham and Eddie Graham.
Yes, it was the Graham brothers. Oh, my gosh. Look who just showed up.
Hey, Joshua.
The reason I had to go upstairs is this little guy. You got to go on. You got to see him on TV. This is funny. Come here, buddy. He said, Papa, I'm bringing you dinner. This is him.
Hey, look at, good gosh.
Look
man,
at this
you
guy.
look cool, Joshua. You look cool, buddy.
They like it. They like you. You look cool, they said. Tell them what uniform you're wearing. What uniform are you wearing?
Dayton Dragons.
The Dayton Dragons.
That's
the
cool.
baseball club of the Cincinnati Reds. And where are we going Friday night?
The Cincinnati Reds.
All right.
All right.
Mr. Red.
You're going to see Mr. Red. All right.
Fun.
So tell everybody hello.
Hello.
And I'm going to put him down. And he text and said he was bringing Papa dinner. And that's what he just did. He brought me dinner. All right, big guy. Yeah, she can have my pretzel. I had to eat a snack in the meantime, so he's eating my pretzel. Thank you guys for that, for allowing me to do that. I'm so proud of him. But getting back to Jackie Fargo, when the Fargo brothers left, there was a big money drop in New York, and it was the team of Dr. Jerry and Eddie Graham who became the Golden Grahams, the fabulous Fargos, the Golden Grahams, and it was big. It was big. But I love Fargo. No doubt about it. Love Fargo.
And we're, Adam, we go one picture after next. And then when I want you to stop, go ahead and stop, because there's pictures that I want to get feedback from the other guy. We showed the first two. So pick up where we left off on the pictures of Fargo, Adam. This is a classic picture with Fargo, the microphone, where we introduce the world to Stan and Steve as the fabulous ones. Next. As we're looking for the next picture, and this is the Jackie Fargo we remember. This is later in his career, because he's not just he's wearing the singlet there. That's the fabulous Jackie Fargo. That's probably 1976 as we move on to the next picture of the fabulous Jackie Fargo. And I love this deal, and we will come out for this. Just look at the pictures. This is wrestling the way it was meant to be. This is exclusive photos of the Jackie Fargo Phil Hickerson feud. You see Jackie bloody up there in the top left, Jackie with Roughhouse, and he's all bruised, a bloody Phil Hickerson. It's just a classic thing. Pat, what do you think of Phil Hickerson and Jackie Fargo?
I would have loved to see that. You know, Phil Hickerson is in my pantheon of unsung Memphis wrestling heroes.
No doubt about it. Michael?
Great in the ring.
Great in the ring. No doubt about it.
Exactly right, Frank.
He's underrated, no doubt in the world. Michael, Phil Hickerson, Jackie Fargo in that picture.
Red makes green. Red makes green. And boy, you talk about brutal fight. I mean, their matches, and I got to actually call one and way back when on a videotape, and I had to do the voiceover on it. And their matches they gave the people a fight. I mean, it started out wrestling, and it always ended up being a fight, as Jackie would say, a Pier 6 brawl. And people loved it. I mean, people loved it, and that's what sold wrestling. I heard a great comment on the Eddie Graham story that they did on Vice, and I really buy this because I'd heard it from Jerry Jarrett, and I'd heard it before. But he said, and I think Kevin Sullivan was the one that said, Eddie Graham would give you 3 or 4 really good matches leading up to the main event, and the main event would be violence. Right. And that's what made that Florida territory. And I got news for you. A lot of Memphis reflected back on a lot of what Florida was all about.
And Jerry Jarrett admired him very, very much. Picture number 5, the next picture here, and it's being talked about. It's a fabulous Fargo strut. And I want to make a comment because somebody asked, did Jeff steal from Fargo? Then somebody uses the words, did Jackie Fargo steal from Buddy Rogers? And that gets me fired up because nothing is certainly exclusive for anybody. The word is not steal. I mean, the headlock, somebody had to do that first. Somebody had to do a standing wrist lock or anything else first. There is a first for everything. So to say, I don't know, because I certainly wasn't watching wrestling, and so I don't know who was the first person who did the Fargo strut. But if it was Buddy Rogers that did it first, Fargo didn't steal from him. If Fargo was certainly doing it before Flair, but Flair didn't steal from Fargo. You know, it's just certain like that. I want to look at Al's comment. Besides being one of the Memphis all-time great, his importance on the Memphis area can't be understated, if no other reason, the influence he had on Jerry Lawler. Great comment. You have to have the guys who inspire the next generation like Fargo did on Lawler, and that is absolutely great. Picture number 6, Adam.
Just real quick, Randy, before we leave this picture, that picture and Pat, I think you'll recognize that picture. I believe was taken at the Boutwell Auditorium.
I was looking at that flag in the background.
Exactly.
And that was hung in the Boutwell Auditorium. So that's I look at the Boutwell Auditorium out of my office window every day.
And I'm 99% sure that's where that picture was taken. Can I ask another thing? What did Jackie? He had the little 2 tattoos. Were those little doves or little above his on his chest on both sides?
I don't really know. That's what it looks at. That's a good little spot right there. Great job, producer Adam. Great job. Great job. I don't know. What does it look like to you, Pat? Little doves?
Yeah, let me put my glasses on.
Okay. Remember, folks, we have a lot. We can't spend as much time on each picture for sure. Or we'll never do. We're not going to get this all in anyway.
I think it's a bat.
Do you? It kind of looks like a bat to me, Michael.
I don't know. I really, and it sort of looks like a crown in a way. I don't know. That's an interesting.
Swans. PJ says swans. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's right.
Yeah, that's a good option too. Next picture, Adam.
One thing while we're getting to the picture, Ronnie, you're absolutely right about Dr. Ken Ramey. I'm still terrified of Ken Ramey.
As Ronnie says, the first match he ever went to was back in the 60s. It was the Fargos versus the Interns with Dr. Ken Ramey. So that is great there. I think one of the most hated managers of all time. Great comments there. And here's the original Fargos. This not great quality photo, but you get the point. That's Jackie and Don Fargo. And you remember, and later in his career with all the piercings and the tattoos, you remembered what Don Fargo looked like, Michael, later in his career.
He looked like a convict. No offense, but he did. He was a tough guy. I'll tell you, Don Fargo is one of the toughest wrestling. The wrestlers themselves said Don Fargo is one of the toughest pure brawler people that they'd ever been around. Yeah, he was a tough son of a gun.
I love that picture. How much were you around Don Fargo?
Much more so than Jackie. Don came in for Nick right after I started and was in the territory for about 6 months. Like you said, he was very tatted up and sort of looked like a sailor, and he teamed up. In fact, I think at one time they teamed him with Lynn Rossi during that time. And when they brought Lynn back, and Lynn couldn't go a lot because, of course, of his foot from the accident. But Don Fargo, boy, he was a tough son of a gun. But he wasn't the orator that Fargo was with promos. Fargo and promos were synonymous with each other. I mean, some of the best promos ever was with Jackie Fargo. Somebody mentioned the fact how Jackie had an influence on Jerry. I think the biggest influence he had on Jerry Lawler is the ability that Jerry has to talk. I mean, they were both very bright.
I agree.
And cutting those promos, I think Lawler took that Fargo advice and just took it to a new level.
So number 7, I want to take a look and not spend a lot of time, but since it's in Chattanooga, I thought this was pretty cool. Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was June the 12th, 1976, double main event. Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto versus David Schultz and Bill Ash. And also Tojo Yamamoto and Jackie Fargo against Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey. Nature Boy Roger Kirby against Rosie Jones. Duke Miller against Chief Billy Blue Rivers. And Ken Dillinger against Dennis Hall. Chattanooga, Tennessee on June the 12th, 1976. Real quick, Pat, quick thoughts on that Chattanooga card.
Well, I tell you, quick thoughts are Tojo doing double duty. And then Dennis Hall is somebody I don't know enough about.
He wrestled for Nick a lot, Michael.
Yeah, Dennis was from Chattanooga. That was his hometown. Trained Bearcat Brown and was the guy that Nick originally teamed up with Bearcat for about 3 or 4 months, and then they shot the angle. Dennis actually got hurt, and Lynn Rossi went to Nick and said, "I want to team with him," and Nick said, "I'm going to team an Italian and a black guy together," and in so many words.
Tell you what, they integrated Birmingham, Alabama.
They did as much for integration in Birmingham, Alabama as anything that ever happened. And Dennis Hall was a collegiate wrestler and was very good at technicians, but he also trained a lot of people, Randy.
Absolutely. Just an interesting card. And you see where it said City Coliseum. Before we put the next picture up,
Rick, I'm sorry not to interrupt, but just for the sake of our folks that are watching, Rosie Jones turned out to be Rufus R. Jones, by the way.
Okay.
Next picture is picture number 8. Don't put it up quite yet. And this is the way we'll do it. Well, he did put it up just yet. See, nobody's listening to me today. Anyway, this is frustrating. Anyway, this is from George Goulis's Old School Wrestling. This is a wonderful picture of Michael St. John interviewing, and I don't know the year, but interviewing Jackie Fargo. Pat, we'll go to you first, and we will take time on an explanation on this picture. Y'all doing as much time as you want on anything. You're completely ignoring me. But this is the one picture I want you to take time on Michael. But here is Pat Trammell, first thoughts on this classic thing that I just happened to discover from the Jackie Fargo Memorial Facebook page. If you're not like that, if you're not friends with that, following that, go to on Facebook, the Fabulous Jackie Fargo Memorial Facebook page. I'm using a ton of pictures from that page. Your thoughts, Pat?
Well, I don't know what year that was. Maybe Michael could tell us. I never knew Michael was a natural redhead.
It was the lights.
I thought it probably was. Yeah. What year was that, Michael?
I think that was 2005.
Okay.
That was the year my father passed. My dad passed in April, and this was in July. It was at a like a boys club over on Trinity Lane in Nashville. Trinity Lane. It was just as you were getting into the Inglewood area. They had a packed house. It was a tribute to Jackie, and there were, in fact, Jerry Lawler was on the card. Bill Dundee was there. Jerry Jarrett came to that event. I mean, that was a lot of folks. George went all out on this. It was actually, I guess, it was a tribute. Let me think if I recall correctly. It may have been not a tribute to Jackie. It was a tribute to Nick's passing, and George had always wanted to do one, and he put out a lot of money on getting those folks in there. And it was a packed house, and it was in like July 14th. And I'll never forget the reason I have a white jacket that goes with that outfit. We were taping it for TV and video, and it was so hot, the air condition broke, and it was probably 110 degrees in there at the time. And I shed my jacket, and I asked George, I said, I can't wear this jacket. It's killing me. He said, that's fine. But if you notice, Jackie is sitting there with a long sleeve shirt, but also has a large sweat stain because we were all just dripping back then. But he was so eloquent and so fabulous. And this was I remember this was the last opportunity I saw Jackie face to face. I spoke to him a couple of more times on the phone after this, but God, what a memory that brings back.
I'll tell you this, when you think about that, and this might not mean that much to some of our listeners, but the esteem Jackie is held in reminds me of the esteem Dusty Rhodes is held in Atlanta.
Absolutely, or Florida.
Yeah.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And the thing about Jackie Fargo is he transcended eras of wrestling. Whatever the era was that was in vogue at the time, Jackie Fargo was influential in that. If like in the 50s, it was like grabbing a headlock, getting down on the mat, holding the headlock for 10 minutes on a 15-minute match, that kind of thing. In the 60s, it got a little wilder. In the 70s, the drop kicks and the reverse rolling legs Nelson and the O'Connor roll and all those things came. The figure four all came about. Fargo had the atomic drop, and that was his finish. And right into the 80s when he brought Roughhouse, i.e. Sonny Fargo, back, and they did the crazy things. And it was Jackie Fargo probably was just like the Tupelo concession stand brawl, the foreshadowing of ECW and Extreme Wrestling, because they were all about it back then. And then ECW just took it and ran with it from that.
Very good, and we'll skip to the next picture right there, and we'll go 2 or 3 in a row. And as I'm trying to get Pat's picture, this picture was used part of the interview in the Memphis Heat thing, and it was cool here that Fargo in that interview talking about how Jerry Jarrett stole the territory from Nick Gulas. Jerry Jarrett did not know that line till he was in Memphis at the Orpheum Theater and saw it on camera. So you guys discuss the next 3 things as I work on this picture, okay?
Sure.
All right.
Well, Jackie, I'll say this for him. He was brutally honest. And I heard him tell a young wrestler came out of the ring back to the dressing room, and they were in a break for a break in the action. They were giving people a little intermission, and the kid came up to him, and I forget who it was, and he came up to him and he said, Mr. Fargo, how did I do? And he looked at him and he said, you were the drizzling shits. And he was serious as a heart attack. And Jackie, if you want to ask Jackie a question, you better be prepared for what you were going to get as an answer. But that was Fargo. And one of the people I know that Jerry Jarrett would, if there was I was privy to a couple of times in the office at Jerry's house where he'd have Fargo on the speakerphone, and Jerry would say something, doing something one way, and Jackie would say, nah, I wouldn't do it that way. I'd do it this way. And every time that Jackie made the suggestion, I assure you that Jerry Jarrett followed it. That's how much respect there was between the two men.
Well, I did enjoy, and I think that is from Memphis Heat, and it's really interesting how just what the way he is viewed as a I don't know, as just a touch point of almost. And I was fortunate enough to be with Jerry Jarrett a couple of times and a couple of afternoons. And when he talked about Fargo, it's almost like he needed his approval.
Yeah,
and I think everybody felt that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if you look at the Fabulous Ones and how that was all created, and that was a Fargo inspiration. I don't know if the idea was Jerry Jarrett's or Jackie Fargo's or a combination of both. But the thing that sold the Fabs from day one, 2 things. One was a great music video that was produced by Randy West. Randy West. Randy West produced a fabulous video on the Fabulous Ones to start things out. I think it was to Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ
Everybody Wants You by Billy Squire was the very first one.
Okay, and then Sharp Dressed Man I think was after that. But Everybody Wants You. That was a great idea, a fabulous idea, if I can use that word liberally here. But the fact that Fargo introduced them, Fargo got those guys over. I promise you, he got the Fabs over before the Fabs ever got in the ring.
No doubt about it. And just a word out to my buddy Pat Rhodes. Pat, I got your picture that you text me. I sent it to my producer, Adam Dunn. It's in a format that Adam is trying to work on to convert it. He can't use it in the format that he was sent to put it on our program Restream. Adam's working on it right now. And Adam, if you were able to do it, just put it in whenever you can get it in as we go to the next picture. And I think it's picture number, and I love this picture. Absolutely. And we've got in the tuxes, and he did the interview, and I didn't download any interviews. I think the pictures speak a million words, because as he was mad in 1982 over Jimmy Hart bringing in Torrey Graham and his partner is the New York Dolls, Fargo said, "It made me sick. It made me sick. You stink, Hart. It made me sick." Two guys dressing up in the tuxes. Well, me and Donnie, and they played this on the video, and I'll bring two guys in. Hart, you stink. I'll bring two guys in. You stink, Hart. I'll bring two guys in, Pally. That'll be tough. They'll be men. They'll be my boys. They will wear the tuxes with pride and strut with pride. That picture of Jackie and Don Fargo is one of the most iconic and classic. And Michael, I think you will agree with me, even though you hadn't done much of that today. Anyway, I think that you will agree with me that the Fargo brothers were really ahead of their time, no doubt.
Amen. Amen. I'd agree with you 100 million times. I do have a question on this picture. Is that Jackie and Don, or is that Jackie and Sonny?
I'm thinking that picture right there, to tell you the truth, I think that's Sonny. I think that's Sonny.
Yep,
Rough House.
I do too. That's that, and I remember this picture. Those sequin outfits, by the way, when Jackie first came to the territory with Nick, the top hats, the sequins, the one strapped Olympic attire kind of thing. He sort of took the Olympic look and then he dressed it up fabulously. People, you got to remember, when Fargo first came to the territory, he was not a babyface. And when the Fargo brothers started with Nick and Roy, they were heels, and they were damn good ones.
Now we have that picture that Pat Rose, Adam tells me that Pat, as we all, I would give anything if I had a picture of me and Jackie Fargo. Pat, if you're watching still, if you remember at all, if you can remember at all what year that was, that's a pretty young Pat Rose and the fabulous Jackie Fargo. And I really appreciate it, Pat Rose, that you sent us that. And Adam Dunn, again, does a great job. So, Pat, isn't that just a fabulous, and I use that word again, we all three are using it, and we will for the rest of this show. I'm telling you that, people, as we remember Jackie Fargo on the 20th day of June, on the month that Jackie Fargo was born, on the month Jackie Fargo died. As a reminder, the fabulous Jackie Fargo was born in Concord, North Carolina on June the 26th, 1930. He passed away June the 24th, 2013 in China Grove, North Carolina at 82 years old. Great picture. And you know, Pat Rose will share us that the rest of his life, Pat.
I just can't. I was sitting there thinking, I just can't imagine. That would be such a fantastic. That's really something special, Pat.
It's very, very good. Michael, your response.
First of all, Pat looks great there, and then Pat's a great guy. He's still in great shape, by the way. Jackie Fargo, I love the fact he's wearing a T-shirt that says Jackie Fargo.
I want a Jackie Fargo T-shirt.
I think, Brandy, I think we ought to print some up and sell them.
I do too.
That's a good idea. Pat Rose answers.
Look, now it gets better. Pat got to tag with Jackie.
I think I called that match. It was 1980. I think I called that match.
1980 Nashville Fairgrounds. versus Tojo and Gypsy. What an honor to tag with his childhood hero. And that's just a big surprise spot of this show. And thank you so much. Anybody that contributes. And Frank, that said, is that picture of the Texas, and Michael will help me with that. I think since it's sunny Fargo, I don't think that was when they were in New York City, because I don't know if Sonny was ever in New York City. Can you answer that question as we go back to that picture real quick of the Texas?
I think that was taken in Nashville at the Hippodrome Arena when they came to town. And I think that was, in fact, I think that was taken, they were in the ring, and somebody at ringside shot up through the ropes to them. But I'm almost positive that was at the Hippodrome Arena in Nashville when they first came to Nashville as heels. Look at that sneer on Fargo's face, on Jackie's face. Love that. Love that.
I love it too. It's just absolutely fantastic. You know, we will do a two-part of this Fargo episode. We'll be back with it to conclude the show. There's a couple of more things that I want to get in, but we're going to take a break right now. And this break will answer a question from SK Lee. I have two more questions. While Michael was on break, we showed one question. So I have two more. The third question is, he talks about music for Power Pro, and Adam will answer that question. We'll be back with that. We'll be back with the video of the day, and we'll be back with more Jackie Fargo in about 15 seconds. Pat Trammell, Michael St. John.
Living the Dream, Memphis Wrestling, The Randy Hale Story, is available now at randyhalesmemphiswrestling.com.
Thank you to SK Lee for sending that in, folks, on my Facebook Messenger. Obviously, during this show, you can do things. My email address is randybittenhales@gmail.com. There's all kinds of ways to get messages for me. If you have a long, complicated thing, if you can certainly send that in, as there's my email right there. And appreciate all the participation, especially appreciate Pat Rose. If you can throw me up a slide where I can read this email, Adam Dunn, please, as I will get to this email. Number 2 question from SK Lee, as we read number 2. When it came to entrance themes in those early days, was it the wrestlers that came to the promoter or someone else and asked if they could use a certain music they liked while traveling on the road, or did the promoter choose it for them? And I can certainly answer that question. First of all, in the old days, when Jackie Fargo was over like Rover, nobody came out with music. And then, there's a lot of people that claim, including the Freebirds and others, to be the first to come out with music. In Memphis, Lawler did it at the beginning. Of course, later on, the Fabulous Ones. I don't think Jackie Fargo ever did. A little bit of both. The wrestlers just like a song and have them play it, or the promoter or Randy West might decide a song that fits a particular wrestler and put a music video together. And there's just so many different ways of doing that. Did I answer that question right, Michael?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. One of the reasons, too, that pop songs aren't played a lot now is because of those extortionists known as the music licensing people, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, Global Music Rights, et cetera, et cetera. Those extortionists decided to clamp down and want big money for the rights, quote unquote, to play these songs. And so now people like the WWE actually pays performers to produce a song in a certain situation for a certain character or team or whatever. And I don't know how Tony's doing it, but I do know how WWE is doing it. They actually pay a licensing fee and have that person cut that song for that particular individual.
Tony, from time to time, spends big bucks to buy because the theme of Collision, he spent big money to do that, and Tony certainly has the money, so it makes for a fantastic television product. Adam, throw up a slide for me, and then I'll need Adam Dunn to help me with this question for sure, because it's about production, it's about Power Pro and that thing. And lastly, S.K. Lee asked, Power Pro Wrestling doesn't get enough credit for that great show theme with the nice piano impending danger beat and the ha-ha hip hop beat. Who came up with that? I know that wasn't the original theme. I believe the theme you're using for the Randy Hell show was the original Power Pro theme, right? Was it changed to make the show feel more modern? Thank you, S.K. Lee. And to help me out with that answer is the producer of this show, Adam Dunn. Welcome.
Okay, yes. So, hey, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, glad to be here. So, yeah, as far as that goes, and I think I remember most of that question, Randy. So the music that we just played that was on the book commercial that we did just a moment ago, that was the original Power Pro Wrestling theme. And it was part of a library of music that the WMC stations had. It was network music, which later became Killer Tracks and is now owned by Universal, is who that music was. It was all music that the station licensed. And throughout pretty much all of wrestling's run on WMC from 77 to 2001, all of the WMC stations were owned by the same company, whether it was Scripps Howard, whether it was Ellis, whether it was Raycom Media. They were all a family of stations that were all owned. So you already had WMC FM, especially, and a little bit of AM, already paying a lot of the licensing fees for some of the more commercially used music. But probably somewhere in the mid to late 90s, you'll notice that USWA went more toward using non-commercial music and using production music, and that was true all the way up until 2001 when Power Pro went off the air. After the first year of Power Pro, the original music ran from April of 98 to April of 99. The director, James Estes, did a repackaging of the graphics and the music in 99 for the 1-year anniversary, and that was the music that you hear us using now on the Power Pro show, and that was used for 2 years. That music, I have not been able to source exactly where it came from. I've gotten close a couple of times, but I would just imagine it is actually that the piano and the other beat that it kind of goes back and forth is actually the same song, just different parts of the same song. And like I said, I've never been able to source that original track. But all the rest of it, the USWA theme and all of it, can be sourced back to different production music, including a lot of the wrestlers' music that was used during Power Pro. So I hope that answers your question.
That does, and I thank you very much. Briefly, Michael, speak, because you're a radio guy, so certainly this is your wheelhouse right now. Anything in additional? I know you couldn't answer specifically because you weren't familiar with the Power Pro product like Michael was, and certainly if I didn't know where the hell it came from, except James Estes made those decisions from the TV station viewpoint. So any response to S.K. Lee's questions?
Well, I think Adam hit it right on the head. Those are licensed groups of music production made specifically as instrumentals, and some of them even made are open-end vocals of just generic kind of, and you subscribe to it and you pay a fee for it, and that's how you use it. So you have a opportunity to use. It's called needle drop. Back in the days, it was called needle drop. You could just drop a needle on the record, and whatever came up is what you played. But I think that's pretty well summed it up. I think Adam's right on the money.
Al Tuttle asked, don't they call that stock music or something like that?
They have in the past. Yeah. Needle drop is probably the phrase that I'm most familiar with, just because you used to pull it out of a library and somebody put a 33 RPM record on the turntable and drop the needle. And if they like the music, that's what they used. We subscribe to a thing right now of production music out of Bakersfield, California. That's really a collaboration of all those stuff. After so many years, they go into what is called public domain. And then after that, you don't have to pay any fees. So we have a lot. We have over 7 million tracks that we can use for our commercials. We'll never ever use that many, but are in public domain. So one guy has gotten them all together. So we just use whatever's out there.
Chris Gale says, are we talking about music? I came to the right place. And again, my experts on music is Michael St. John and Adam Dunn. Me and Pat both been quiet here, aren't we, Pat?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
No doubt about it, for sure. We have more Jackie Fargo stuff, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But we've been doing a great segment for the last several weeks right here on Talking Memphis Wrestling. And we went back from my early day, my first appearance on a television show, and that was doing play-by-play with the Rock and Roll Express against Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo, Eddie Gilbert throwing fire at me in a fight with Scott Bowden. So many stuff. We have been doing that. And I have a video, and everybody heads up, because this is a real hard video to find, Pat. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know, Michael, if you've seen it. I want everybody to pay attention to this video. I was in a bad time in my life, and this was in 1996, and I needed to take a leave of absence. Didn't tell Lawler why I was taking a leave of absence. I say, take over, I'm burned out. And then when I got myself back straight, back right, I came up with the idea. This is the best interview that I've ever done that never led to anything. The best interview I ever did in my life never led to anything. Lawler was still booking. I wouldn't take back over to about 5. I had the vision for the angle, but Lawler was still booking, and he let me do the vision. But then he went a different direction with the deal and put me a part of a group called the Memphis version of what was it, Adam? Help me here. Nation of Domination. Is that what it was? I believe. Is that the Memphis version? As Adam says, yes. So that's what we did. This is going to be pick up at the end of a Bill Dundee, Jamie Dundee match. One of the things that Lawler did with me gone was split up PG-13, switch Jamie Hill, put him with Bill. This is just a very, right after match is over, Lawler doing commentary. If you hadn't seen this before, this is shocking. And the only people in the building that knew this was going to happen, Michael, is me and Jerry Lawler. The announcers didn't know it. I showed up, went in that side door, and went right to the set. Lawler came, let me in the door. I was hiding. I came in the door, went right out, and this is what happened.
Congratulate him on double teaming, and therefore defeating their team, who really gave him a battle. I mean, I think you got to give it to Charlie Laird and Tony Williams for the effort that they showed here today. Yeah, they lost the match. The Dundees are going to get the victory, but there they go, the Dundees and the Kings celebrating the great victory. My goodness gracious, it's Randy Hales. Randy Hales on a leave of absence here. Randy, you've been on vacation, it looks like, and my goodness, this is not the way we're used to seeing you. Used to seeing him in a coat and tie here. You doing all right?
I'll get into that in just a minute. First of all, Dave, the reason you hadn't seen me here this morning is not a person in this world knew I was coming today. I just walked in the door. You say I'm on a leave of absence. Why don't you tell the people out here today why I'm on that leave of absence? Tell the people why I'm on that leave of absence.
Well, I don't want to get into that. This is not the place to talk about it, Randy. You know as well as I do it isn't, Corey. No, Corey.
How about you, Bruno? I don't know.
Come on, Randy.
To be honest, I don't know. But what is it?
Randy,
Everybody listen to me.
I know there's some trouble. Let me just say, I'm glad to see you again, but let's talk about it.
Dave, you know, I thought this would be just like this because everybody back in the back behind closed doors in your weather office, what you do is you tell what's on your mind. Then when you come out here, you don't tell the truth. You're the company line, you protect everybody. But what I'm going to do today, everybody listen, I'm going to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and I'm going to expose a lot of things that's going around here. I'm going to expose a lot of things about
Randy.
this company.
Dave, what is
Randy.
Now, Dave, what I have to say is that you know it and everybody here knows it, that from the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to be in professional wrestling. Everybody thought it was a joke. Everybody thought I didn't have a chance at all. Everybody thought it was funny, but I fooled them, didn't I, Dave? The reason I fooled them is I worked harder than anybody. I worked my brains out day in and day out.
Yeah, you
and
did.
quite frankly, I was smarter than everybody else, and I became from a 12-year-old kid selling programs to the person for the last 4 years been running this company. The highest rated TV show in the country is this show, is that right?
Yeah?
The only wrestling company that showed a profit the last 3 years is what company? This company, that's exactly right. And while I've been doing all the work, you know what's been happening? Let's talk about other people's contributions in this company.
Well, it takes a lot of people. You're right.
It's taken me for 3 years, only me, and everybody knows it. And I'm telling people here. Now, let's talk about the owners of this company. Let's talk about the owners of this company sitting in that big mansion on that big hill in Hendersonville. You hate them, Dave, just like everybody else, but you don't have the guts to say it. They drive their BMWs, right? They drive their Mercedes. They buy their yachts. Then what? How do they do it? The reason they do it, Dave, is that they're spending the millions of dollars I make for them in this company, and they don't share it with anybody else. How about Eddie Marlin?
1996. October the 19th, 1996.
No, now listen, and you know as well as I do, there have been some health problems at Eddie's family.
The truth of the matter is Eddie got old and fat and lazy. What Eddie Marlin does, he sits on his couch. He sits on his couch. His wife sits on the other couch, and you know what? All they do is sleep and eat all day, and they spend more money on grocery bills than they paid me a week, and I'm sick of it. If your name's not Jarrett, and if your name's not Marlin, they don't care if you live and die around here, and that's the God's gospel, people. That's the God's gospel. And you know what it all did to me?
Randy.
All my hard work, you stay away from me. You know what all my hard work did? You know what have you ever been broke? Have you ever been broke, Dave?
Randy, no.
Well,
Fortunately, I haven't. Randy, you got some problems.
Let me tell you what those
I didn't know it.
problems are.
Let's go back in the back.
Let me tell you what the problems are. I got evicted from my apartment. I got my car repossessed. I'm dead broke. You can have that because there's sure not any money in there. That's what happened, Dave. That's what happened.
Randy, I didn't know all of this. I didn't. And I'm your friend. Let's go talk about it. Corey, I'm
not going anywhere. After I left it, I didn't take a leave of absence. I told the people, I told them to shove it. I quit. And what's happened in the 5 weeks I've been gone? These shows are horrible and you know it. The talents are horrible.
Randy?
Who's out here? People like Mr. Coffee. How about him? Everybody
Randy,
knows
I'm going to ask you to go to the back.
All
All right, Randy, now, calm down. You got some problems. Let's talk about it. If I have to, I'm going to ask security to take you back in the back, Randy.
You stay out of this because you're the only person in the world who's been good to me. But you know this needs to be said, and I'm going to say it. What are you going to do to get me
I said
out of here?
I am going to ask security. If I have to, I don't want to do
Let
that.
me tell you,
Come on.
he's going to have security get me out of here. What have you ever done? What have you ever done? I've gotten my head busted out of this company. That's security. Bring the security on. You think they can do anything about it? I've gotten his. What can they do to me? They going to hit me? Are they going to hit me? Are they going to hit me?
Come on, Randy.
This is great.
Let's come out of that right now. There's a part 2 of that show
James,
we will show next week if we can come out right now. there's a part two. I came back later on. Whoopi came back, and we will play that on the show last week. Quick comments about that, Pat Trammell. Have you ever seen that in your life?
I don't think I've ever seen that, and I don't know that I'll tell you what, man. Uh, I never thought I'd hear Randy Hales running down Eddie Marlin.
It got heat.
It got heat with me.
It got heat with Christine Jarrett. She called Lawler complaining about it, and Eddie didn't talk to me for years. I was trying to draw money. Nothing's fair. It's all out there when you're trying to draw money. Do I regret it now? Yes, I do. I could have had the same effect without saying that, but I was really mad at those people. I wasn't mad at Eddie. I've never been mad at Eddie. I was mad at Jerry Jarrett. I was mad at the whole thing, even though it was my fault because I was on shit I shouldn't have been on at all, thinking stuff I shouldn't have done. In bad shape, the worst shape I've ever been in my life. Absolutely, 100%. It was all my fault. Absolutely. I know that then. I was playing the blame game. Did you think that was good?
I thought it was a shoot.
I did too. I absolutely did.
Randy Hales shooting.
I kind of was, but in a working way. Lawler.
Okay.
I wrote, and I didn't do it word for word, but I sent to Lawler what I wanted to do because I called him, and then I faxed him. I said, hey, I'm ready to come back to TV, and I have an idea if you want to do it. So I gave him the idea. He was booking. And then he said, oh, that's great, man. We'll go ahead and do that. And when I came back, it was the first time I ever met Larry Burton, Michael. And he said, oh, my God, you could win that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. You could have won an Academy Award. You can win an Academy Award with that. He's a Hollywood guy and all that sort of thing. Just I would have gone there was personal stuff that I could have done with Jamie and PG and Brian and Lawler, and we could have gone a different direction. I was put in the Nation of Domination, had Crusher Bones and somebody else with me. It just didn't lead to anything. Lawler made me Randy X. And so 4 or 5 weeks later, I hated the Randy X thing. It wasn't me. And he got away from the crazy Randy. I thought the crazy Randy was great. I managed the Macho Warrior and Rick Hogan. Lawler trying to use me to get new guys over, which was smart because the people knew me. But so I didn't like the Randy X thing. And finally, Lawler called me one Friday night, hadn't started TV yet. And he said, Randy, I can't do this. Said, can you take back over and throw a TV together? And I said, yeah. And the first person I fired when I took over the book was Randy X, myself, as a talent. First person I fired.
Was that a play on Malcolm X by chance?
Yeah, you'd have to ask Lawler. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So as a one-off, and Adam says yes, as a one-off, Michael, you didn't know that I just told you. It didn't lead to anything. But do you see the potential there that if we'd have gone in that direction and got it in that storyline, Randy's gone nuts and Randy's bitter and trying to bring a lot of people in to get that could have been a real good personal deal. I really think so. Your honest thoughts. You've been honest about knocking Brandon Baxter, so if you want to knock me, go ahead.
I'm not knocking Brandon Baxter. I'll tell you this: Randy Hales shooting is the best interview Randy Hales does. And as far as a program, that would have been a hell of a program, and I think it could have drawn money because it's a personal issue, and personal issues draw money.
Pat, one final comment about that.
Well, I'm reading Al and I'm reading Lance's comments, and I'll tell you, Randy, there was a lot of shoot in that, and it's like Michael says, that's the best stuff you can do.
No doubt about it. It was pretty fun. We are talking memories of the fabulous Jackie Fargo. That's how we end. We have 25 minutes left. Whatever we have left in the store, we'll pick up with the Fargo picture number 15. The Fargo picture number 15 is here we go with more fabulous Jackie Fargo stuff. And I believe, Michael, help me. This is the bounty hunter, David Nowak, and referee Thomas Marlin. Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct. You are absolutely. And look on Fargo. You know,
Oh,
Fargo
so real.
Fargo could sell. Fargo could sell with his face. And to me, that is what so many wrestlers miss.
I gotta answer the phone.
Yeah, to me, that's what wrestlers so many times this year. And Pat, I know that you probably agree with me, is that I think wrestlers miss that facial emotion where they can let their face tell the story without saying it in 100 words with a microphone in the ring for 20 minutes.
I agree I agree with that. You know, when you see a wrestler's face now, they're standing around, turning their head all the way around, looking at everybody in the audience. There's not a lot of nuance anymore in selling. You know,
you're right about that, and I don't know who is, and I know there's some great people that are teaching wrestlers now, but I think wrestlers learn so much of that emotional side of selling, not from working out in a gym or having some guy tell them how to do something, or some girl telling them how to do something. I think they learned it by the reaction of the crowd, working on a 4 or 5 times, 6 times a week in front of a live audience. The audience will lend you as to what emotions that you are to portray. And I don't think you're getting that in professional wrestling in any division or in any group of wrestlers in this day and time.
you know, when you said that, I'm thinking though, if you're on WWE TV or you're on, somewhere else, AEW, shoot, all that, it is a lot different than the 700 people that was in the Talladega High School gym in 1981 at the matches I promoted. And it's most we all talk and we all watch videos and we all revere and remember the sellout crowds at the Mid South Coliseum. But what we forget sometimes is Jerry Lawler, uh, and Dusty Rhodes and Arn Anderson and Jeff Jarrett and Jeff not so much as the others, and Bill Dundee spent most of their time uh, in in uh, in VFW halls, in high school gyms, in church fellowship halls, uh, you know, before a more intimate crowd. And it's almost the difference, I think, in theater and in making a movie, right?
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. And you can't beat that live audience. It's like Broadway play versus movie. What would you rather watch? And that's sort of what that's all about.
I think so.
I had an interesting phone call right there. Apparently, somebody was looking at Jerry Lawler's old Facebook page, and somehow or another, Lawler put my phone number, said if you want bookings at the club, blah blah blah, call this number. The guy see it, and he's a Coke collector in Texas, and so he called from this area, and he called me telling me that, and I told him to call back at 9:15. Laza says pro wrestlers seem. Let's put that back up there. Laza saying pro wrestlers seem to learn basics properly these days and only know 1 or 2 moves. That doesn't have anything to do with Fargo or anything else we're talking about. So we won't talk about that. Adam, I don't know what Fargo picture we're on. If we can just continue and get through as many of that, and send me a note to tell me what picture we're on. But go ahead. And I think the There we go. Another. Remember, the Fargos were on number 16. That's the same thing, and that's Sonny Fargo there. Here's a great one. Number 18 is next, and Michael, I'll let you describe this one.
Well, you know, that one right there, I'd identified Roughhouse Fargo, and of course, Roughhouse Fargo is Sonny Fargo. Okay, we got the next one coming up.
Next one's coming up. I'm sorry. This there we go. You described that one.
Is that? I'm trying to think if that's the cheek. I don't.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I thought it
You got
was, and I want to say that may be the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville.
I think it is. I think
And this was a main event. This was a match that Nick booked in I want to say in 78 or 79. The Sheik was in town. This is the time that I got to meet the Sheik, and I mean, they had a bloody, rough, tear it up all over the place kind of match. But that's where that I'm pretty sure is from.
Very good. It's just such a great one, and I'm going to skip around. So Adam, go to one of my favorites of all times. Picture number 52. Picture number 52, Adam. As we will stand by as we're looking at the Sheik. This is a classic. This is the fabulous Jackie Fargo and Muhammad Ali. What do you think, Pat?
I have a question. Who looks cooler there?
I think they both look pretty darn cool. What do you say?
I think Fargo looks cool there. I really do.
What do you think? What do you think?
It's two of my heroes in the same picture. It sort of takes words out of my mouth. I'm looking at that picture and look at those glasses at Fargo. You know, and Muhammad Ali, he was a big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Big fan of Louisville wrestling.
And Gorgeous George Sr.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of Ali. I mean, you listen to some of Fargo's promos, and you listen to some of Ali's promos, and you wonder that if he didn't get some of that from watching Louisville TV and Jackie Fargo.
Picture number 48. Picture number 48. Adam, as we're skipping around, how about this one? The fabulous Jackie Fargo, Miss Christine Jarrett, the mother of Jerry Jarrett, the grandmother of Jeff Jarrett, and of course, that's Sonny, that's Nut House, that's Rough House Fargo. What a classic picture, Pat.
Absolutely. You know, I don't think I've seen a picture of Miss Jarrett like that, smiling like that. That's pretty special.
Michael, real quick on Christine and the Fargos.
I think a classic photo, without a doubt. And of course, this was right before Jackie retired, or he may have been semi-retired right there. But I'm sure that was probably taken, from the looks of things, may have been taken in, I'm looking at the tile in the back in Memphis, or even maybe again at the Municipal Auditorium. But I think that was backstage at the Mid-South Coliseum.
That is the Mid-South Coliseum. Picture number 53. And Adam, we'll talk about this because I never saw this. This is who? Jackie and who? One of your favorite feuds, Michael.
That's not Tojo, is it?
Yeah, that's Tojo.
Wow. The way I recognize
Tojo
that
looks so tall.
I look like I'm looking at the torso, and that's how I realized that was Tojo, and it was one of my favorite feuds. I mean, these two, they got it off. I mean, they were, you know, and the first time that I ever met Jackie, going back to that, I remember at the time Tojo was in the other locker room, and after the show, after everybody was beginning to leave, and Jackie and Tojo, I couldn't believe, after watching them fight so many times, how good of friends they were and how they ribbed each other. It was incredible how they ribbed each other.
Incredible. And it was just so Great. Now, you said you were hooked with Tojo and Fargo, and thanks to the fabulous Jackie Fargo Memorial Facebook page, they had the caption, and it doesn't look like Tojo to me, but I was just believing the caption. And if you look close enough, you can kind of figure it out. I want to look at show number 54. 53, picture 53 is what one of the things that hooked Michael St. John. Picture number 54, if we can switch to that, hooked me. This, folks, is the fabulous Jackie Fargo and big, mean, lean Al Green, the first sellout ever at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. Team with brother Don Green. He absolutely was managed by Sir Steve Clemens. Pat, your thoughts on Al Green? Did he come to Birmingham much?
The Greens did come to Birmingham, and the Greens were, the Greens were some of the prototypical heels that I grew up on.
Michael, your thoughts on Al Green and Jackie Fargo? Did they do that in your part of the woods as much as they did in Memphis? Because in Memphis, it's in one of the top three of maybe two of the greatest feud ever in Memphis. How about your end of the deal?
In the early to mid 60s, I remember my Uncle John taking me to the Patton Street Armory in Huntsville, Alabama, two top girls and Sailor Moran on the card. The main event was Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto against Don and Al Green. And Don Green was just a brute. He was just a fighting brute. And Al Green was a fighting brute. And Don Green could talk your ear off. And that's what made that team. Al Green was the finesse guy. Don Green was the finesse guy. Al Green was the bruising brawler. And boy, what a rough, tough heel tag team that was.
When I think of the Greens and I think of heels from my youth, I think about guys with greasy, slick back hair you'd see in a beer joint.
Exactly.
Number 56, then we'll do 57. And we saw the picture from 2006 or 2007 with Michael interviewing Jackie Fargo. This is Chattanooga announcer Harry Thornton interviewing Jackie Fargo. And the next picture is our guy, Lance Russell, interviewing Jackie Fargo. Or no, this is not an interview. This is in later life at a fans convention. This is Jackie Fargo and Lance Russell. Pat, both great pictures.
I think Harry Thornton's bow tie and sport coat and Fargo's wrestling jacket ought to be in somebody's Hall of Fame.
Let's go back and look at that picture, the great Harry Thornton and Jackie Fargo. Let's look at that again as we pay tribute to Jackie Fargo tonight for sure. As Pat Rose says, now this would be classic. Pat Rose says, I have that mic. That is great, Pat. That is fantastic. Those two pictures, real quick, 30 seconds, Michael.
No problem with that. I'm telling you, it's the two great announcers. I mean, look at the Hall of Fame announcers that were in this territory back in the day. And Harry Thornton owned his market. Lance Russell, Dave Brown owned their market. Grady Reeves in Huntsville owned his market. Sterling Brewer was over the top in Birmingham. I mean, some legendary figures.
Two more pictures and final thoughts from Michael and Pat. Then I'll do the plugs and tell you what's going on and get out of here on time. This picture, number 58, is a picture of one of Jackie Fargo's earlier tag team partners. What do you know of Mario Milano?
Mario Milano. He was brought to the United States, trained by Lynn Rossi. Very young guy, tall guy. He was one of the taller wrestlers back in the day before everybody got to be, and he was a technician. He left here, and I want to say he went either out west or to Hawaii.
Australia, wasn't it?
Australia, that's it. I knew it was somewhere out away from here, but he was over like drawn butter. I mean,
yeah.
He was out there. He was out there.
Pat, do you have any memories of Mario Milano?
Very, very, very limited. I remember him coming through Birmingham one time. Larry says he was very huge in Australia.
Very good technician wrestler. I know, trained like Lynn Rossi, worked like Lynn.
One more picture of the day to tap it all off. This is a picture, and I just know this is a big shot country music guy, and he was a partner with Fargo Bar and Grill in Memphis. This is a picture of the fabulous Jackie Fargo and Eddie Bonds. Can you throw anything at all into the conversation? Anything you know, either one of you, about Eddie Bonds?
Don't know Eddie Bonds. We could talk about Fargo for the next 3 weeks.
Never heard of Eddie Bonds?
Was Fargo's place out on 78, Randy?
I don't know. That was way before my time. Way before my time. Way before my time. But that's a cool picture. And apparently Eddie Bond was a huge country music star. I'm telling you, they both look like stars, but who looks like the bigger star? To me, it's Jackie Fargo.
The question is, did those jackets come with or without batteries?
It's pretty
think
cool.
you and I need some matching jackets like that, Michael.
I think we should. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Been a great show tonight as the career of Jackie Fargo, and we pretty much went through all the pictures and a lot of content, and this has been a lot of fun. Final comments. You like the show today? And final comments to Team Hills. Pat.
I did like the show. It's nice to kind of focus on one guy and kind of go down memory lane and kind of remember somebody that we were talking earlier about the strut and all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, I think I said earlier that in Birmingham, Jackie Fargo would come to restore order to the force, but Lawler, Jeff, and not just the strut, okay? The attitude of Memphis wrestling that is carried on to this day has a lot of its roots in Jackie Fargo.
No doubt about it. No doubt at all. Appreciate everybody for the nice words. Everybody, including Frank Seaton. Frank says Eddie Bond had a club in Memphis, and Lawler did some artwork for them when he was young. Randy West loved the show today. Everybody that did, I appreciate it very much. So sum it up and final words, final thoughts from the great star of the show, Michael St. John.
First of all, you're the star of the show.
That's our gag.
You did a great job, an unbelievably great job of putting the food on the platter and letting us eat from the platter. Your booking is just, you booked the hell out of this show. And I agree with you. And thank you all the folks that made such great comments tonight. But I think folks enjoy it when we banter together and talk about things that everybody holds high in abeyance. And that is, you talked about somebody tonight in Jackie Fargo that was the cornerstone of what Memphis wrestling became, what wrestling in the South, what the Nick Goulas, Roy Welch territory was all about. Jackie was the cornerstone. And even his influence in today's world, it's still there. And maybe there's not a lot of kids that are paying attention to it that are in the business, but I'll tell you, you can go back and I can hear Fargo echoing in my ear saying this or that, pulling Jerry Lawler from the curtain at the Birmingham Boutwell Auditorium when some young lady was coming to talk to him and looking at him in the eye and says, "You never go out there. You never go out behind this curtain. Would Elvis do that?" And Jerry Lawler will tell that story. Fargo saying, "Would Elvis ever do that?" And so, Fargo was the cornerstone. And I think tonight, Randy, you did a great job of setting this all up.
Well, my passion is the creating part and the formatting part. It really is. Doing it to host the show and all that. I'm going to do my plugs. But Pat, you're a blessing to this show. Michael, you're a blessing to this show. Joshua is a blessing to this show. Pat, I hope Wyatt and Meg and Suzanne are all right. I hope Joshua continues to do good. Certainly. Hope everybody's certainly doing great, Michael. Thank you, guys. I love y'all.
Love you, Randy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Love you guys. Ronnie, thank you for your comment.
Bye, Joshua.
Did you hear him say it? He said, bye, Randy.
Bye, Joshua.
Hold on. Let me throw him up here. He's wanting to get up. Say bye, Randy. Bye,
Bye,
Pat.
Rennie. Bye, Pant.
Bye,
Yes.
bye, Joshua.
Bye,
God bless
Joshua.
you. Love you all.
Thank
Love
you,
y'all.
everybody. He forgot to say bye to Adam, but that's okay. He didn't see Adam up here. That is fantastic. All right, here we go. The plugs, and here we go with the plugs. And there's a caption for this. I will be in the morning at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time at 953theticket.com. You can go to the World Wide Web or listen those stations right there. The best way to do it for you out of towners is 953theticket.com. And I will be tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock on the front row with Bud Rowe. If you have any questions from 9 o'clock Central to 10 o'clock Central, call 870-930-3776, 870-930-3776. So make sure you certainly call and ask your question. And then I'm going to skip ahead for a week to next week and Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. Bud Chappelle, the originator and creator of that show, out on vacation. I will be co-hosting all 3 hours on the 26th and on the 28th, Monday on Wednesday. On Monday, talking real sports, talking real life. At the 7 o'clock hour, Coach Steve Urett, my 7th grade social studies teacher, and an influence on me, taught me how to study, later became the head coach at Jonesboro High School. He'll be there Monday. He will be there Monday, the 26th. On the 28th at 8 o'clock, Coach Kanan Grosbeck, the brand new head women's volleyball coach at Annie Camp Junior High School, which is, by the way, the junior high school I went to in 1974 and 1975. Kanan is my niece, and Kanan will be my guest starting at 8 o'clock on the 28th. And the final guest, the shoes on the other foot, and this is the dream guest, and nobody fits on the Power Pro show. And certainly my buddy Adam Dunn may come all the way to Jonesboro, Arkansas, because he's afraid that some wild brawl will happen and he'll have to bail me out of jail or something. He's a little worried about this. But at 9 o'clock, a week from tomorrow, my guest is Brandon Baxter. Brandon Baxter. And I certainly, and my man Adam, we are going down the 28th. Have a party because I will sing to Adam. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. We'll sing that to him next week. And Adam will I'll take you out for your birthday dinner and we'll have a lot of fun for there. Next Monday night will be the Power Hour. Next Tuesday will be Talking Memphis Wrestling. I got to figure out how to do that. Adam will probably be, I've got to figure out. Honestly, I'll tell you right now, we got to figure out if there'll be a Talking Memphis Wrestling next week. And I don't know if Adam will be on the road. I don't know if we're going to do a Monday show, but we're planning. Adam, are we going to do a Monday show? I can't do that Monday show without you.
I would plan on it. I don't have plans to not do it yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, folks, we're trying to get out of that here on time. It's a fantastic show. RandyBittenhales@gmail.com. My Facebook Messenger. Love the question. SK Lee did a great job. And we remember the fabulous Jackie Fargo. Liza, looking forward to your guest, Brandon Baxter. That will be great. And that will be on the radio a week from Wednesday at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. Ronnie, hope you have a great one too. Jeff Rawl Wheeler said, Randy sent you Eddie and Jackie music. Eddie Bond and Jackie music is what he sent me. I can't look at it. I don't know where you sent it to, but I'll find it. For Pat Trammell and Michael St. John, for our producer Adam Dunn. Make sure you check us. All the archives on my YouTube channels. It's youtube.com/@RandyHales. Check that out, people, because we need more subscribers, and you can watch shows that you don't know. And I forgot to tell you, the Friday show, 6 o'clock, most interactive show that we do is the Randy Hales Show. I put out the link, and anybody, we had prayers last week and all kinds of stuff. That's a strong show at 6 o'clock on Friday night. Got to plug that. Until then, I'm Randy Hales saying thanks for watching Talking Memphis Wrestling. Again, I'm Randy Hales. Good night.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hales and special guests.